My name is Diamand, and I participated in the TAG4 conference. It was a conference, a worldwide conference about new traditional architecture, or generally speaking, what is happening in the architecture scene with traditional architecture. It was excellently organized, and the lectures were very, very interesting. I particularly found it interesting with there was a movie screening about the connection between neuroscience and design. This was very, very interesting and something I believe that will revolutionize architecture in the future. More of this I expect to see in the future. The whole conference, as mentioned, was very, very professionally organized. And it was also very enjoyable. There were a lot of speakers that were very, very good. I remember the introduction speaker, Leo Krier, very, very, very professional. And it was just enjoyable all the time. I also made new connections. One particular that I would like to mention is David Andrade, I think his last name is Italian last name, an American architect that have many ideas that relate to what I do, how to connect with a younger audience and how to connect in general to make new traditional architecture a movement to recapture architecture from the modernist script that it is now in this current condition.
I'm Don Ruggles, and as I reflect on TAG4 conference that was presented by the Classic Planning Institute this past weekend, I'm reminded of a quote from Winston Churchill, which goes, "I'm easily pleased with the very best." The TAG4 conference brought together some of the most remarkable professionals in the world and combined them with equally remarkable students from across the continents to discuss how the planning and architecture professions can provide the leadership necessary to conceptualize, create, and experience the built environment in a more positive and healthy way. Of particular interest to me is how the emerging field of neuroaesthetics can play a role in this course correction for the professions to ensure that health and well-being become essential components of design. It's a daunting task that TAG4 has taken on, and judging from the incredible enthusiasm for the many messages presented at the conference, it is a task embraced by the professions. I would say TAG4 was a resounding success, and I'm personally looking forward to TAG5 to carry on this great discussion. So I'll see you at the next conference, and in the meantime, onward and upward.
My name is Dave Andreozzi. I'm an architect and the president of the ICA New England and past nationally involved with the AIA. I've always been looking for community, a wide range of community, both nationally and internationally, that will help support traditional and classical architecture. An architecture that is responsive to our culture, to our nature, to our vernacular. And nothing like that exists. But as I've been watching the TAG events occur over the last 5 to 6 years, I've always been intrigued and I've always wanted to go. This was the first one I was able to participate and speak at. I was blown away by the ability for people from very different parts of the perspective to come in and share ideas and all be welcomed by everybody. I believe that this event is actually going to spurn or create new organizations and movements that will grow on their own. I thank so much the people that supported this and Patrick Webb for leading this entire process for the last 5 years. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the next TAG.
My name is Jack Duncan, and I am the current chair of classical architecture and allied arts here at the American College of Building Arts in Charleston, South Carolina. I've been a part of the TAG gathering since the inception in Charleston. I think it was in 2015. It's amazing to watch the the development of the gathering from just, really enough people to fit within a single room into a gathering that hosted hundreds and hundreds of people this past weekend. And it's really exciting to see. I think a lot of us in the early part of the gatherings were, kind of communicating with each other for some time, I mean, years in some senses, talking about all of the different things kind of confronting architecture and urbanism and the allied arts being, the building arts in general as a whole, and then also what the future might hold as far as how we can come together and develop a community that can have an ongoing discussion on how we might better build a beautiful, more sustainable world using traditional techniques in all these various disciplines. So for me, I mean, I think it's really important and exciting to see how far we've come in the sense of it being very kind of narrow in the beginning of very specific ideas about what we thought the movement ought to be, and then to watch it to evolve into a more natural and organic movement with a lot more people kind of influencing how it affects the world at large. And I think that really is the kind of fundamental nature of the gathering, is to allow it to be a very organic and natural community that gets to be very democratic in the way that it decides what it is. So for instance, there's always been a kind of really intentional grounding in both architecture and urbanism. And I think because of the first gathering in Charleston at the American College of the Building Arts, the building arts, the craft trades, iron, stone, plaster, architectural carpentry, timber framing, these kind of were surrounding us, and we saw that was a really important aspect. So I'm really excited personally to kind of see that aspect be discovered more. And I also see, in what was interesting in the most recent gathering, is that the chat always had some aspect of the building arts and the crafts. And so that's exciting personally for me. In the future, I hope that it continues to evolve this way, where more people are feeling included and want to be a part of this movement, because I think that what traditional architecture, urbanism, the building arts do is it kind of brings back an interest in humanism that maybe got lost along the way in the kind of industrialization of the global economy. And I think there's a little bit of a return, hopefully, in the new generation with trying to work by hand, be intentional, maybe take our time, that it's not merely just get some product out quickly and cheaply, but rather maybe the world will start to find value in artisans and architects and urbanists taking their time and being intentional and building beautiful and sustainable places that are made for humans by humans, instead of just this kind of wide open acceptance of some sort of mass-produced industrial world that we seem to be creating for ourselves, where everything within the built environment is not human-made at all. And certainly it's becoming less and less human-built, in the sense of the materiality is really rough on the earth, glass and steel, synthetic materials, the carbon footprint that's associated with that, as far as oring something in one place and shipping it somewhere to be synthesized, and then shipping it somewhere else to be shaped, and then shipping it somewhere else to kind of be constructed on site. So I hope the TAG gatherings opens up a forum to talk about how we can kind of deal with that, and kind of put a focus back on the human beings in general, and making places that are truly, contextually sustainable, and also culturally sustainable. And we hope to see a lot of these, especially the young designers, urbanists, and craftspeople that we saw in one of the most recent forums. I hope to see that really broaden and be a continuous application throughout the TAG gatherings in the future, where we really start to focus more on, that's the kind of focus of the TAG gatherings in general, and in particular this idea of the STOA, the transition of knowledge from the generally older population that maintains that knowledge, and transferring it to the younger generation that are really interested in having that knowledge and then that kind of creates that beautiful cycle where they feel indebted to the generation behind them. And that's really what tradition is. And I think that's what the traditional architecture gathering at its essence should be, is this kind of transference of knowledge, and a group gathering once a year where we all come together and share our ideas about how best to do that.